time for Newsletter Chat, where Jen and Jamie chat about newsletters. Newsletter Chat with Jamie and Jen.
I couldn't find it. And then I found it. I'm like, no, it's not called that. I have a weird name on it. I don't know why. Good morning. Welcome to Newsletter Chat.
For your Tuesday dose of ASMR with Jamie and Jen.
Good morning,
Good
Piper.
morning, Piper.
Hey, says Teresa. Good morning, Teresa.
Right.
Oh, sorry. We got chatting off camera. We were here already, but we were like, blah, 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 blah. Not newsletter stuff. So you didn't miss anything. Nothing at all. So, you bring... I don't know where to begin because I have some things to share about my last week newsletter, and I don't know where to start. I guess.
What do you mean? So, okay, you have news. You have newsletter news.
I have newsletter news.
Oh, okay. So what's
so cool.
Okay? So, what would be the headline if this were a newsflash? Newsflash. This just in. Jennifer Tong. What?
Jennifer Carl Tong screws up again.
I thought it was like Jennifer Carl Tong blows her newsletter goal out of the water, new subscribers or something. Like, seriously, it's a fail. Oh, I'm so sorry. What happened? What happened?
So I always go in and I copy the previous newsletter to create a new one because then I don't have to reformat the pictures and all that stuff. I only have to go in and change stuff. And I'm very good about changing the links. I'm very good. Like you even know with our newsletter for the podcast, I'm the one that checks all that stuff. I'm just very much about making sure that links aren't right. But when you do that, you have to give it a name. And so I always put some bogus name on there. And I thought I might write about my back pain but I just wasn't feeling it. I thought I was
you weren't feeling your back pain.
I really wasn't at the moment, but no.
That was very funny.
But I'm because I really feel like I'll share it. I think I'm going to share it next newsletter, but just how it was one little thing that the doctor found and it made such a huge difference.
The ankles.
Yeah. So
because I saw that subject line. Jen, your newsletter's sitting there. I haven't opened it yet. So it's that subject line?
So I named it The Problem with Ankles. Say nothing about ankles in the newsletter.
Oh my word.
And I always have my my 15-year-old daughter, sometimes my 11-year-old when my 15-year-old is busy, but my 15-year-old daughter, I always have her edit for me the newsletter. She looks it over, she checks the links for me, she's real good about it. And so I guess I should put her down as one of my employees. But
nice.
But when you're editing that part, when you're in that part, you don't see the title, you don't see the newsletter title and so I hit send, I walked away. And the great thing about Mailer Lite, it gives you a minute or two after you send to cancel, right? I come back 3 minutes later. 3 minutes later. I look down at my laptop and I'm like, what? Oh, so that was the big fail. I know it's not that big a deal. Most people don't even pay attention, but you want to have headlines that'll draw people in. Who's going to be drawn in by the problem with ankles or the trouble with ankles? No one's going to want to read that newsletter, first of all.
Really? I thought you were trying to be I don't know, if you wrote mystery.
Yeah, but I don't. Maybe I should wrote, I love my ankles.
Right. And then I thought, well, maybe it's a modesty angle because she writes historical and maybe they're peeking at the ankles because the hemlines are too short or something and it's causing lustful thoughts. I don't know.
Hopefully everybody that is on my mailing list overthinks like you do, Jamie. So
I know. And they'll be it's mysterious. Then the next subject line could be the solution to the ankle mystery at the next subject line of your next newsletter. Did anybody write to you and say, so what's going on with the ankles? Did anybody kind of call you out?
I only got one so far. I didn't check my email this morning, but this weekend I checked. And one of my super fans that responds to every newsletter, sweet lady, she responded and so I'm going to share that. I'm going to save that, for a second. I'm going to share screen right now so that we can look at what I got going on over here. So okay, so the problem with ankles, there it is right there. But wait, hold on a second. I didn't mean to click it. Let me go back. Sorry. My computer is being very slow today. 35.61% open rate. That ain't bad with a title like that. 95 people click. So I have a 10% click rate. That's pretty good. If you look at all my other click rate, it's right up there. I mean, it's so even the bad title didn't do bad. So either that means that the headline doesn't need to be as important as I worry about, or it does. Maybe it means that I need to do better at headlines and I would get better click rates. I don't know, or better open rates. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I think people are expecting a modesty rant. When they open it up, it's going to be like, ankles should not be shown in public. Ankles should be covered by socks.
But here's the thing I want to point out. Can you see this over here?
Yes.
This is my big problem.
Oh.
26 unsubscribed.
Out of how many?
883. So it's
Okay.
it's less than 3%. That's the most I've ever had in a newsletter. So that's what I want to discuss today.
Yeah.
Why did I have so many unsubscribes with this newsletter when it's nothing different?
Do you think, are you tempted to ascribe it to the ankles? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like, is there a temptation?
Maybe. Okay. So at some point you just got to stop. You just got to ignore the unsubscribes, right?
Yeah.
Maybe this is the point. I ignore it. However, I didn't. So I clicked on it to see, because I'm thinking, all right, so because I've done a lot of promos and I've done a lot of newsletter swaps, you get a lot of people in your newsletter that are just there for the freebie and then they hightail it.
Sure.
I'm okay with that, because if they finally read my book, I think they're going to enjoy it enough to where they're going to come back or they're going to buy the next book or whatever. But I clicked on this to see the unsubscribes, and it wasn't just those people. It's been people that have been with me for like 20 some newsletters, or and the people that click on everything. Like I lost, but I also did lose other people that were just there taking up space. So yeah. So I don't know. I don't have the answer to this.
Piper is asking if you've increased your promos drastically, because maybe with the idea that you might be chasing them off with too many promos.
No, just the opposite. That's what I was gonna bring up. Is that I haven't done a newsletter in a month and a half, almost 2 months when I did this one. So I was worried that people are gonna be like, who is this? So I might have lost some people with that. Like, oh, I don't remember subscribing to this, because they forget if they don't see you all the time. Also, I thought that it was because I didn't offer enough. I only shared in this newsletter one freebie book. I didn't share a promotion. So it wasn't like full of that kind of stuff, because there are people out there that the newsletters get a ton of clicks and they have a ton of subscribers, but it's almost like an ad. The whole thing is just full of like book offers and things like that. And so they might have a lot of people, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that are going to be avid readers, not just like consumers of like consuming, but not become a super fan. I'm hoping with my newsletter to build super fans. So wait, Piper says, no, not chasing them off. Okay, explain, Piper, because here we go. That you have been increasing your subscription number and there are people who are just there for freebies from the promos. That's what I was talking about earlier. I considered that, but a lot of people that unsubscribed were like that. But some of the people that unsubscribe are people that have been there for a while now and have been clicking on things. They weren't just like getting the emails and not opening them, or opening them and not clicking. There are people that clicked. It was a mixture. So it's probably nothing to worry about, because honestly, I lost 26 people, and let me look. I have a new promo. I did a book swap with somebody, and I'll probably get those 26 or more back today.
And guess what, Jen? Probably it's probably one of these things. People are going through their email, what they're subscribed to and what they're not, and they just had to make a priority decision.
Yes.
And they just preferred to get someone else's attention to that spot in their mind. So it's maybe not you did something wrong, but they're just not your people. They just decided to go read something else.
Right. That's kind of what Piper's saying right now, is that but also consider that people are doing what I'm considering very strongly doing. I had signed up for a lot of things during COVID, staying home, etc. And now I am drowning and I need to cut them because I'm not reading. 100% agree with that. I absolutely believe that that's very possible. Ultimately, if they don't want to be on my newsletter list, I don't want them there. I don't want to bother them with emails. I don't like being bothered with emails, and I don't want to pay for them eventually, right? Reason I'm bringing this up is I want to be able to make sure that I always consider, okay, am I missing the mark somewhere with my email list? If I have a huge jump in unsubscribes, which maybe that's not even a huge jump. You know, what, 3%? Maybe that's not 1% is what I would expect, but maybe that's not a huge jump. So just throwing that out there for us to like keep an eye on. Like if I continue to get that, then I got to really look at my newsletter and see like, am I serving my audience?
Well, Jen, I, for one, am really thankful that you shared that, because if we come on here and only trumpet the things that are working well for us and the things that are going right, that's not a real authentic experience, because bad things are going to happen to people when they're on this journey, excuse me, and the way that you dust yourself off and keep going in spite of your fail is going to determine whether or not you ever publish a book, or whether or not you meet your goals that you did work so hard on that business plan to get through at the end of the year. And so thanks for being transparent. It's not easy to come on live and say, look, I did some kind of a goof. So I appreciate it. In fact, can we just make Jen's fails a segment on newsletter chat?
Oh my gosh, we should.
Yeah.
I should get like a song, like a little, a picture of me going,
yeah, Jen's in fail jail. We could go shh and put like a big gate over you. Just kidding. Okay. So,
so I didn't want to just complain about that. There's a couple of things. So I wanted to take that and springboard into my new thought is I'm thinking of backing off from weekly to every other week. I don't want to do just once a month because I do have people in my list that enjoy me sharing books. And so, but I also don't want to like overload your inbox. So I thought we could like discuss that for a little bit. Piper says, so in this topic, what is acceptable? I know if you have too many, some of the servers will mark you and watch because of spam.
Oh, how many promos can you put in? Is that what she's asking?
How many unsubscribes at a time? I don't think 3%. I don't think 3%, but that's a really good thing we should research.
So hold on, let's say the question and state it clearly again. How many unsubscribers do you have to get before they start to mark you for spam? Now, I do know it's separate if they report you as a spam, which I've never had that happen to me yet. Have you ever had anyone report you as spam?
I have not. So
that would be horribly upsetting. But
you can get a certain amount of people marking you as spam and be okay, because they know that some people like subscribe like crazy and then forget. So next week we're going to try to answer, or maybe even right now, how many unsubscribes
would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Right.
That's sometimes how it feels with Google. It's like the riddle of the Sphinx. You got to search for just the right phrase to get the answer that you want. Piper says, Piper says someone reported her as spam and they signed up for her newsletter. How irritating. God, the goodness, that would make me really upset.
And I don't think you can get in trouble for that because your email company can track that. They can see.
Yeah. That they gave permission for you to email them. So that's why
Piper has moved from different places.
That's hard. Yeah.
That's hard. It's really hard.
Piper's been going through it. Good for her you know what? Speaking of someone who deserves an atta girl for not giving up.
Yes.
It's been kind of a journey. So good for her. She says it could be accidental because if you're on your phone and you click, you require a second click. Oh, okay. So she's saying it could just be a fat finger happening to people.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
One last thing, and then we're going to move on to you, is you asked me if I'd gotten any responses, and I did. I got, like I said, one of my super fans that writes me almost every single email that I sent out. And she said to me, the words that one of the things that she said to me, it's so glad to hear from you again. I miss getting your letters. Who says that? Right? Who says that? And so, Kelly, if you're by chance watching this, I don't think you are because I don't think you're a writer. I think you're just a reader. And then she commented on the book I shared that she'd read it already and that she was a fan of it. So that was really great. So I appreciate that, Kelly. It's always good to hear from you. So thank you very much. That keeps me going. So yeah. So I'm going to go to 2 weeks. So that means I'm not writing one this week, but I'm working on it for this week. So.
Oh, all right. Then are you going to do the ankles then this time?
Maybe. We'll see. Like I only want to share it if like God leads it, because like really is more about like the spiritual aspect of that, like kind of what God taught me in that like, yeah, this is your body, but like your spirit, even more so when something is out of place, can be causing problems elsewhere, but I don't want it
Just
to be.
if you're gonna put on your editor's hat and look at this, just gonna put this in your head, that when I first read it and I knew that you liked Star Trek, I thought about The Trouble with Tribbles. And so if you wanted to kind of think of it and see if you know what I mean, like if that puts something in your head when you're being an editor, because immediately I was kind of expecting that kind of maybe something. That's why it's in my like I wondered, what is this? It did pique my curiosity, I'm saying. And so it was kind of clever. So I'm saying in the future, maybe a clever subject line could be something. If you don't have something to offer, like a freebie, you could try to just be mysterious with what you put in your subject line.
Agreed. I've tried to, and like you can Google search for subject line help, and there's lots of like good advice out there. But next week, I do want us to specifically speak on unsubscribe rates. So I just did a quick Google search, and there's some good stuff out there. But I want to vet it first and look at things and maybe try some things out ourselves. So
and yes, and I would like every other week, Jen. But with you not being consistent enough for me to tell if you haven't been annoying me, but you said you haven't been sending weekly, so.
Not for the last month and a half. Before then, for months, I was doing every week. Piper says, I've been sending twice a month and I try to offer something to click on. Yep, usually a promo and a newsletter swap or two, but also to an article, a video, a picture. Oh, that's a good idea. I guess I don't do enough of that. So that's a really good idea. Okay. Yeah, so that's a great idea. I always try to do like one, maybe two promos. I try to keep it to one, and one or two newsletter swaps, but I don't do more than that. Because I want to offer things to my readers, but I also don't want it to become like spam, like just full of things that people will share my book. Like I personally, that doesn't work for me. It works for other people, but I don't want that. So Piper says she did read something about subject lines to make them nonsensical and funny and try to increase open rates. Mine generally are kind of like, it kind of refers to what I'm doing, but
Jen has an advantage over a new person, though, in that Jen's been with her audience for a really long time. So she kind of knows
some of
like
them.
her reader. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
kind of know what they're going to respond well to or not. So you might want to fling out a couple of nonsensical ones to see if your readers respond to that. You might be in a different genre to where that's all they like.
And I think too, I really like what Piper was saying about the different links too. And it's got me thinking, like, I don't know that I have one avatar, one perfect newsletter audience, but that's what I was trying to write to is one, like I try to imagine like one person, but I do have people that are just there for the free books. I do have people that are been there from the beginning. I do have people that have become super fans that have read my books and just want more me. They don't care about the other stuff. So maybe if I make sure that I'm hitting all three of those areas, like I get really good response when I share my personal spiritual walk. That's when I get the
There
most
you
response.
go. Okay.
But it's something I don't struggle with it, but it's something that's kind of like that takes a lot out of me to do that because it's your personal struggle. Jamie and I talked about this off camera. We talked about it a little bit in one of our sprints this week that like you get the authentic Jen. I don't put anything on, but you don't get like the whole Jen. Like you're not going to see what Jen is like first thing in the morning, like, or when I've had a bad morning or when I'm not feeling well, when I'm sick and throwing up over the toilet. You're not going to see that, Jen. All those things are me, right? And so sharing my spiritual walk is really letting you in on the inside. And not that I care. I've always been someone that's shared that. I'm Sunday school teacher for junior high and high school kids. You share everything, right? It's just something I've not done it every time. So maybe I just need to lay that at God's feet and let him tell me what he wants me to do.
Well, you just said that, and I had a suggestion. So you can lay it at God's feet and let him tell you what to do, because that's the wisest thing you could ever do.
Or I can listen to you.
Right. Which, of course, is the smarter decision to make. No, pray about what I'm about to say then. I know. Because I do a bi-monthly newsletter, and my bi-monthly is a little different. I have one newsletter that's this way and one newsletter that's that way. So you could train your readers to sort of expect that your first issue of the month is going to have some kind of a Jennifer spiritual tale, and your second newsletter of the month is going to be more of something else, so that they're expecting only one piece from you that's gutting you, and the other installment is kind of a just touching base, just dropping in for a quick cookie instead of sitting to have the long tea, right? So it's like a visit from Jennifer, a long visit the first of the month, and a shorter visit just to pop in at the end.
Yeah. Piper agrees. She likes that idea. Me too. I do like the idea. I also like Piper's idea here. Like, I had a bit about where I'm at in my book and asked if they wanted to see one of the shifter animals in the book, and had a link they had to click.
Oh, yeah, to see
Okay,
it. That's a good
what?
idea.
Boom. Like, thinking about like, oh, am I going to put my newsletter? Also, on the other day, I'm stressing, oh, how do I get people to my Pinterest page? Oh, how do I get more followers on Instagram? Like, why am I not linking to these things that I'm putting time into
Spread
on
that
the social
manure
media?
around. It's organic outreach. You created some manure. Go spread that manure around.
Was the manure conversation live, or was that off camera? Because people may not understand what you're saying. Explain that a little bit again, Jamie.
Okay. Well, it was kind of during the podcast. We sort of have said it in bits and pieces, but when you create a piece of social media or a blog post or an image with a cool caption, and you're like, look at this great thing I made, why would you not put it on your website, put it on your Twitter, put it on your Instagram, put it on your wherever you're trying to, because all of that stuff is demonstrably shown, for example, that the more content you have on your website, the better it will do in SEO, and the more popular you will become, and you will achieve your business plan goals, blah, blah, blah. The only reason I could think that you wouldn't do that is if your business plan says, I will not do any social media this year. Then you are exempt from this advice.
That's really good advice. It's very good advice. Speaking of advice, I'm looking at Teresa here, and I'm thinking, okay, Teresa's at a different stage than Piper, yourself, and myself. So let's talk about those that are listening that are brand new to the writing game, don't have a newsletter, don't have a game plan. So I have some suggestions for you, Teresa. I appreciate you being here. So I know that means that you have some sort of interest in a newsletter, or you're just kind of absorbing for later. It doesn't hurt to start a Facebook group for your author page. Start an author page today. Go to Facebook, start a business page under your author name, do it now. And then you could start a group. And then what I did was I went to my personal Facebook page and said, I've done it. I finished a novel. I'm working towards publication. Is anyone interested in being in my Facebook group, where I will give updates, and then later you will get a free copy of the book? And then as people responded to that, I personally responded to them and said, I've personally messaged them back and said, not in that message, I went to like the messenger, and I said, here is the link, join this Facebook group. And then that's how I started off. So when I started my newsletter, so because I didn't have a website yet, I didn't have a newsletter to be able to send it out. And so things I would have done in a newsletter, I did in that Facebook group. And people interacted. And then when it was time and the book was ready for a reader magnet, they're the first people I went to, and I offered it as a free, as my giveaway, which I'm doing for everybody, right? But they were the first ones. And they didn't all take me up on it, because some of them were just there because they're my friend, right? But it started. So that's what I would suggest. And then you could start taking all these suggestions that we're making, all these things that we're doing in newsletters, you could just do it in that Facebook group and see how that works out.
Well, that's awesome advice.
That's just my suggestion.
Yes. So, when you're brand new to the newsletter game, there is a lot to learn. Please try not to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And we're trying to split it up into little bites. But if there's something specific you need to know about, let us know. Because as you can see, we're kind of freewheeling these topics. We're not, but next time it sounds like we want to talk about unsubscribing, right,
yes.
Jen? And specifically,
and ways to keep it from happening. Yes.
And yeah. Okay. So Teresa says she has an Instagram author account. Ooh.
You have to have a Facebook business page as your author name in order to have a group. The group it would be kind of more private, and people feel like they're part of something special. if you do that, as opposed to, because you don't want to be on your personal page saying, hey, here's what's going on in my writing career. Here, you want to read my book. Here, you want to do this, because everybody sees it. You want to have like a group of people that feel like they are your cheerleaders, if that makes sense. And that's, which is kind of like your newsletter, but this is like your precursor to the newsletter.
Teresa says she's sort of afraid to start a Facebook page. And I get that, Teresa, because the Writing Shorts, not the Writing, well, the Writing Shorts newsletter does not have a Facebook group for a reason. And that's because when I thought about what it would involve to have a Facebook group, I personally am not the kind of person who has a temperament to be an admin of a Facebook group. And since I know that, I'm not starting a Facebook group. If someone were to come up to me and say, you know, the Writing Shorts newsletter sure should have a Facebook group, I'd say, congratulations, you're the new admin and you can start, you know what I mean? Yeah. I can't do everything. And people have a lot of great ideas of how I could sell books to other people. But I have to make sure that when I look down the tunnel of time, I can see myself doing that for as long as I want to be a writer. And I don't want to be a Facebook group admin for 20 years. So I'm not doing that. But that advice is still good advice for a different temperament. So you have to be smart about the choices you make. And that's why we have the business plan at the beginning of the year, so that you don't grab every suggestion you're given and run off to make it something you're doing as a part of your plan.
And I think I need to also specify that I am not hardly active in my group at all anymore because I have a newsletter. I don't feel like you have to be active in that group 100, like for the next 20 years, myself personally. Now, Jamie feels differently about it because she's a different temperament. For me, I feel like this was a precursor. It helped me get ready for my newsletter. It helped me like kind of practice newslettery kind of things. But there's no reason why I should probably go be active in there more often. That's just a big excuse because I've been lazy. But again, business plan. I need to stay focused on my business plan. So
I know there's so much to think about. There's so much to think about with a writing career. It can make your mind spin.
And so, but Teresa was talking specifically about a page. She's afraid to do a page. You can do a page and never do anything with
it. I don't know. I like having a page because then when I want to like go live on a StreamYard, it's somewhere for it to send it. So do you know what I mean? Like, if all of these things are great resources, but you don't have to use them all. You have to put together a writing career that serves your needs.
Right. And with a page too, people can contact you without having to contact you through your personal Facebook.
Ooh, that's a great point. That's a really good point.
She says, wait,
yeah.
Okay, but those groups only have my personal friends and family in there, so they've seen me start. Yeah. Okay. Yes. And she said, I don't want to ask the same people. I absolutely agree. 100% understand this because I had a blog before too. That's why I did the way I did. Like, if you're interested, message me. Or if you're interested, let me know. So then people didn't have to support me. And it was only people that were interested in reading the book. So it came across a little bit differently. And then let's see. What was the other thing I was going to say?
Can I speak while you're trying to gather your thoughts?
Yes, go ahead.
I think that the really important thing to understand about this sort of thing is that it's a long game. You cannot be disappointed in some results you get that are small from a small choice you make. Okay, forget about your friends and family. I know you think it's a lot of people. If you go to your Facebook group, you see 576 names. Don't even think about those people because they are not necessarily readers. These might be people who knows, have a job that tires them out all day and they come home and just go directly to bed and would never read a book, much less yours. So forget about those people, even though it's hard because it's the only people you know. Why would anybody buy my book if they don't care about me? Well, because you wrote a good book. Hello.
Yes.
Go out there and find people who want to read your book. And we're telling you that people who want to read your book are clicking through these promos. They'll see your cover, they'll see your blurb, and they'll want to read. I know it's hard to believe because I didn't believe it. I had the same question. I already asked my friends and family to come and support me, and they won't. And I'm like, what am I asking for, though? People who care about Jamie Hirschberger getting on the bestseller list, or people who want to read my stuff? I have to go find readers, and I encourage you to do the same.
That's what I was going to say, is that even though I opened up to people that I'm friends with, once I messaged them and said, here's the Facebook group. Also, is there anybody that you know that enjoys Christian romance? Is there anybody that you know that likes to read Christian fantasy? Whatever your genre is. And I would say about 50% of the people are like, yes, my sister-in-law, yes, my cousin, whatever. And then they would send like information and about, I would say my first 70 people in that group, 30% of them were people I didn't know, but were friends of friends because they were interested in the genre. So just throwing that idea out there if you want to get started in newslettery type stuff, but don't have a newsletter, because I remember being there, like feeling like I need to be
Yeah,
doing
for
something. I need to
sure.
start building my platform. How do I do that?
Mhm.
And that
Mhm.
worked for me. So,
Yep.
so
Absolutely.
now it's built 100. That group is 100% built on people getting my book, and at the back of the book it has a link. So everybody that
That's
joins that group
so
is because of that.
awesome. And
So
see, that's the kind of stuff that I forget about. My fails is absolutely there is no link at the end of my free whatever for people to go spend money on whatever. For example, like this is why the advertising is going, the principal is taking over all of that stuff. He's like, you just write, because you know what? You are a disaster when it comes to making ads or any of it.
Piper says if you create a page and interact in genre groups as your page, liking and commenting, you can grow a base. Yes. Yes,
Ooh, good
interact as your
idea.
page, because then if people want to
Mhm.
contact you, they're contacting your page, not your personal. Yes, 100%. I do that too. So that's a really good point.
And the most important thing you can do regarding social media and frequently posting is do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah, 100%. That's why we're
I'm
here doing
horrible
newsletter
about
chat.
social media. Just yes, I realize that I need newsletter chat as much as I think I'm helping everybody else, because it keeps me accountable. Did you know my newsletter extra went out and I didn't even realize? And I used to be the person to sit and is anyone going to open it? Is anyone going to click? And I'm like, if I'm not accountable to paying attention to doing this bad mamma jamma, it's just going to fall right into a crack. So thank you everyone for being here to keep me on task doing this newsletter.
That's awesome. So let's talk about you, Jamie. What do you have coming up next with newsletter?
Well, I am starting a new article series, Curious About Cats, because I think cats and books go hand in hand. And so everyone's going to get a little article this time about cats and do they have 9 lives. Last time they got an article about cats and why they purr. And these articles will then appear on the Writing Shorts website for people to read. Also, they're going to get a short story, but I haven't picked out which one yet for February. And I have to figure out which Drabble to share. And then I've got to switch around because I'm changing the freebie that I'm giving away. My reader magnet was And the Mom Ran Away with the Moon, but for February it's One Quiet Afternoon, and I have to figure out how people are finding it to download it, because I made a book funnel linkadoo and I shared it in my newsletter, and it was supposed to be, you can only get this if you're a member of my newsletter. But it says 114 people downloaded it, but it said only 35 people clicked on it so I'm very confused because the math doesn't like
Wow. Yeah.
how could 114 people download it if the only place that people could find out about it is that newsletter, which only went out on Monday, and only 35 people? Like, I'm confused, but someone maybe got the link or sent it to a friend. I don't know. I kind of don't care. I'm
This
just
is
like,
book funnel, right?
please, Jennifer, bear with
Or
me.
story origin. It's one or the
It's
other.
one of those wackadoodle places where you send me to go try to sell books to people. I don't know. Yes, book
Okay.
funnel.
All right.
Because
So
yeah.
you need to go back in and look at the book and make sure that you have clicked that they have to give their email address in order to download it.
Yeah, I did.
So,
That's when it's like you have to set it up one way or another. You have to set it up to where either they don't care who you are and you can have it, or you have to already be a subscriber, or if you sign up, you will get the goodie. And I totally set the whole thing up to you can't even get this book unless your name matches. And still, like, it's just weird that there's 114 people who got it, but only 35 people who clicked. Like,
that is really weird.
how are they getting to the page if not by clicking on that button? How are they're sharing maybe with their friends? Do you think that's maybe was like I'm
They
sent to
should
my
be able
friend?
to. It should be a unique link where it can't be shared so that they can't. So, like, once I click on it and download it, no one else can download with that link.
I
It
have an
should
idea.
be.
I
Yes.
think I know.
Okay.
Mailer Lite. I love MailerLite because of what it does for me. However, MailerLite is a little bit turtly. So when I do something in MailerLite, it takes forever for MailerLite to say, here's your latest and greatest, which gives me a panic attack. For example, it will save my draft newsletter, and when I click preview, it'll show me a draft from like 3 versions ago and make me have a breathing problem until I refresh and rebrowse, whatever.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm thinking it's just not showing me the right number of clicks yet. That's what I'm thinking is going on. So I'll keep an eye on that. And if I think of it, I'll report back next time. But that's what's going on in my world.
All right. Teresa says, I love Instagram because I've easily grown that with very little effort. Hashtags are magic. My author count on there has about 10 people I know personally, which is awesome. You need to share those hashtags with us. I struggle with growing my Instagram. Like, it's kind of been stagnant for an awful long time. Piper says, that's awesome, Teresa. I just can't spend the time on another platform. God, I
Yeah.
understand. I'm focusing
Right.
on Pinterest and Facebook because I'm already used to those,
Good
which
for
makes
you.
total
Smart.
sense. All I use Instagram for is looking at other people's stuff. Yeah, 100%. But I do that too. 100%. You cannot spread yourself too thin on social media. We learned that the hard way. When we first started, we were on every platform. Like our personal brands were on every platform because we had to build a brand and we had to build a platform because that's what everyone said you had to do. And well, yeah, to a certain point, you got to figure out where your peeps are. And my peeps are not on Twitter. As much
And you,
fun as Twitter can be, it's not where my peeps are. It's where Christian indie writers' peeps are, but it's
yes.
not where my peeps are.
And you can start slow. Listen, if you're listening to this podcast and your book isn't finished, please slow down a little because you still have to write a book. I know you think, yeah, but once my book is done, but getting done, why don't you ask around how long, like, does it realistically take to get finished? And are you kind of kicking that can down the road? Shouldn't you be finishing your book instead of thinking about how to promote it? Not to be mean, but just
No,
slow down with all of this because you don't want to have a bunch of people begging for an update on your book when you don't even have draft 1. Then you're like, I feel kind of weird now. I told y'all you were going to have book updates and there's none, right?
100% agree with that because when we were first starting out, we listened to, there were people out there telling you, build your platform, start now, don't wait. No, I would not take that. If I could do it over again, I would wait till I had at least 3 books, if not all 4 books finished before I even started any of this stuff. And I would have released quicker than what I'm doing now. Like, it's a learning process though, right? This is a
Yeah,
whole learning process. So
if I had it to learn over again, I would just write down every piece of advice that I got in a notebook and take it home and process it in my own flipping time. That's what I would do if I could start over again because every idea sounds like the best one ever and you jump to go do that next thing and it makes you crazy cakes and I don't want to do that anymore.
mm-hmm. Oh, this is why. I get it. Yeah. She says my Instagram is full of a lot of writers, probably not too many readers, but I don't have a book yet, so okay with
Oh,
that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
I'm trying to build readers. So that makes sense because that's how my Twitter is. So everyone's like, "Oh, you have a lot of people that follow you on Twitter. They're all writers. No, they don't care what I'm talking about. Like, they don't care unless I am." Here's the funny thing I found about Twitter. People were very active with you before you published. Once you publish, all of a sudden, like, no one wanted to have anything to do with you because I think Twitter is full of a bunch of people, at least the people that were following me, that are never going to put, they're just in that whole like writer world and someday I'll publish. And then once somebody publishes, it's almost like, I don't want to say it's envy, but there's something weird there because all of a sudden my engagement went, once I started like saying, hey, my book is out, crickets on everything that I did, which is fine because I didn't need to be spending time on Twitter. So,
But that's the point is you were hoping to find readers and that's not readers is what the takeaway was that for you. Like those are not going to be people who are going to end up buying your book in the long
exactly.
run. Yeah.
Exactly. Piper says, yeah, lots of people say build the newsletter before you have a book, but then you're spending your writing time on newsletters instead of finishing the book. Exactly. So here's what I would have done if I could do it over again. I wouldn't have built like everything early. I would have written my book first. And then I would have written the second book, possibly even written the third book before I even, so then I would have started offering the first book, for free. I would have done the whole launch thing because I knew I had things coming up, right? As opposed to, yay, this book is done and putting it out there and then having to hurry up and get the next book done and then having to hurry and get the next book done. And then life happened before I could get the next book done. So That's
Well,
just
and
that's
because
this
we
year.
yes, and because we have these sort of, I mean, I hate to say regrets, they're learning experiences. We're trying to share with anybody who might be listening. If you're brand new, it's okay to just take a minute to figure out what way is going to make the best sense for you. We don't have all the answers. We never pretend to have all the answers. We're just fumbling along and trying to help other people learn from our oopsies.
Agreed. All right. So no newsletter for me this week, though it's funny when we have newsletter chat, then I get all excited and I end up putting one out. So we'll see. My plan isn't to have one until next week. Let me see what my planner is up here. I'll go ahead and share screen again. So here's my planner, my campaign planner, clicking on that. So I have it as Saturday, February 6th. I'm clicking on that. Right now, I have a book funnel that I'm doing. So I have one promo and I always put it in there, edit it to be in there. And I have no one that I've swapped with yet. So we shall see. There'll be at least a book funnel thing going out in 2 weeks. So that's my plan.
All right. If anybody is listening and you have not yet subscribed to the Writing Shorts newsletter, www.writingshorts.net, for free short fiction and more for my wonderful readers. You get a free ebook just for subscribing. And then every month I send a short story and a drabble to you. So www.writingshorts.net.
Sounds good. And we will be back tomorrow morning if you would like to get some writing done. So this is business part of what we do, but we also have writing that we do. So if you want to join us tomorrow morning, at least me, I don't know if Jamie will be there or not. Jamie's always in
I
it.
want to be there.
I love it when you're there, but I don't want you to feel the pressure because your office hours are from 10 to 12. So 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, writing sprints live with me.
Maybe
So
me.
hopefully, maybe Jamie. All right. This
All
was
right.
great. We don't
It
have
was
an
fun.
we don't have an outro. We always say, "Oh yeah, we need to do an outro," and we haven't done it yet. So say it for me, Jamie.
Newsletter chat. Farewell from the newsletter chat. All right, just kidding. All right,
Bye,
talk to you later.
everyone.